So let's look a little bit at artificial intelligence, one aspect of it, in the case of drones, or sometimes called remote warfare, or sometimes UAVs, uninhabited aerial vehicles, drones. And there's a number of issues that come up with respect to drones, and here's one: the concept of risk. The notion of risk in warfare is an old one, and what I'm just going to talk about in this video is a little bit of what's the link between some of what we assume sort of be symmetries of risk, as it's sometimes referred to, and the battle space. Now, some people say that one of the problems is that you should have equal risks being taken in order to maintain a kind of fair fight with respect to warfare. And do drones basically violate that? Do they create what you can get is a kind of riskless warfare? And this idea of riskless warfare has been explored in a variety of novels, and lots of science fiction novels will deal with this as well. You know, where basically technology becomes so advanced that the fighting is actually all done through drones and robots and various kinds of automated devices and autonomous and semi-autonomous devices. But the important thing is that the human beings that are involved in the entire process of war are not themselves exposed directly to risk. So is that what we're entering into? Something, and maybe risk is not even part of the story, but we'll look at that in a second. So do drones create a kind of riskless warfare? And some people say yes. They by putting them into the mix, you get the fact that they essentially they eliminate it, they eliminate risk. And drones, think about drones, they're expensive. Like, you know, the real fancy ones that militaries use, these run into the millions of dollars, and operating them, you know, it's like operating these large kinds of military operations where you have, you know, planes or aircraft carriers and all that. This is really expensive machinery to operate just on an hourly basis. So some of these things are millions to build and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars just to operate. So, well, what does that do? That creates a sort of, shall we say, an asymmetry right there. Wealthier states can afford these things, poorer states cannot. So drones introduce various asymmetries, lack of risk, all kinds of problems. Now, let's just think, make it a little bit more concrete. Um, it's the case, like, think about it. A drone operator, you know, a drone operator could be pretty well anywhere and basically operating and having the extension, you know, the drone itself in the battle space, and the drone operator is completely removed from it. So if a drone operator escapes risk, is there some sort of forfeiting of the right to kill on the battlefield? Like, could, you know, people debated this a long time ago, where archers and you know, standing way outside of the battlefield, they were killing inside, and they were killing people that were fighting back with spears. It seems like one side was taking all the risk and the archers weren't. So this is a modern extension of this. Now, think about this from with an analogy. So if you say something like, well, escapes the risk, and then the right to kill on the battlefield might be, you know, it's void. You might want to argue, well, you should ban drone operators. Well, but wait a sec, you know, like, if you look at an analogy here with snipers, they too, you know, have highly decreased risks. Is it likely that that's going to be banned? I mean, those have long been a part of warfare. Um, and so what's the principle under this? You know, that's the philosophical point, is to try to dig underneath it all and look at what's animating this push, let's say, from risk to or the escaping of risk to the voiding of the right to kill. Is, you know, we ask, is there it's not really in a principle format, but basically, is there the right to kill only if there's risk? So is risk something that's presupposed in the right to kill on the battlefield? Of course. So what's the link between the concept or the idea of the right to kill and risk? If you say it's something necessary, well, it would seem that you can't have a situation where you would have a right to kill unless there were risk, right? Because if it's a necessary condition, it has to be there. Well, we can concoct a little test, you know, and we can go through more details in the reference article. But basically, you can imagine a situation where you might say, "Nah, there's a right without a risk." And so let's say there's an innocent, just called Y. Y is the innocent person. Z is threatens Y, is about to do something or kill or whatever, damage Y in some serious fashion. And here's a bystander who can see this, but comes in and stops it. And maybe, let's say, just for the sake of discussion, that Z is such that it is that Z will either kill Y, and in order to stop it, the bystander has to kill Z. Now, what would you say? If you're the bystander here and you see this, would you have a right to stop this and kill Z? And if you say yes, then I would say, well, wait a second, what about this principle? Right? Only if there's risk. So what, you have to let Z know, take some risk, expose yourself to some risk, or would it be arguably acceptable for you as the bystander to save Y, killing Z, without taking the risk yourself of being killed by Z? If you say that, well, maybe in that sense it's acceptable, well, then you've broken this principle that it's not a necessary, but it could be, in some cases, we could say it's kind of a contingent condition. That in some cases you might say there's a right to kill on the battlefield only if there's risk. Then the question opens up again is, well, is it the case that a drone operator can kill without the assumption of risk in an analogous way or some way linked up with this one with the bystander and Z threatening to kill innocent Y? So that's one element that comes up, namely the connection, or what is the nature of the connection between the right to kill and risk when you bring the question of drones into warfare.